Welcome to Fit to be Fabulous. I'm Brenda Von Rautenkrantz, your host. We're located right here in Sykesville, Maryland, and in horse country, and right here on the farm. This is Felix. Today I'm excited to have on the show someone who is legendary in the horsemanship field. His name is Dan Roser. I'm excited to have him. He's going to share some great insight on horsemanship. Well, I'd like to welcome now Dan Roser. Welcome, Dan. I'm so excited to have you. I love horse people. You just got that energy that everything's going to be okay. Right?
Yeah, you got it. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I was excited to have you. We're here in the barn, so if you hear clanging, they're there waiting for something. Tell me a little bit about just how you started in horses. I mean, you have this pedigree that is unbelievable. I think, 48 years you've been doing horses?
Yep.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about that, how you started in horses.
Sure. Well, it all started with a friend of mine named David, and he had a sister, has a sister. And I would be hanging around David's house, and Krista would be there as well. And she really loved horses, still does. And he invited me to go down to their beach house in Delaware. It was really just in a campgrounds, mobile home. And one day she said to me, would you like to go up to the Arabian horse farm? That was about a mile from the place, so we could walk. And I was 17, she was 15, 16, somewhere in there. And so we walked up, and there were a whole field of yearlings.
Oh, wow.
And so we sat kind of at the fence watching them, and this little filly named Misty came over. And I know it was Misty because she had a nameplate on her halter.
Uh-huh.
And she just hung around forever, it seemed. We came back to the beach house maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times that summer, and Misty would always come up and hang around.
Wow.
And there were probably 70, 80 horses in there. And so I kind of just fell in love with horses at that point. I had not ridden yet. David goes off to college, and I kept hanging around. So Chris,
was it the horses or the girl?
Probably the girl, I would think. But she asked me to go horseback riding, and I said, yeah, why not? I probably didn't even know which end of the horse to feed at that point. And we went, got on a horse. His name was Prince, a little quarter horse gelding, and I absolutely loved it. And we rode together like that maybe 4 or 5 years. We started to actually take trail rides out at the different barns. You know, we're kids, and we're taking trail rides out, and it just kind of went from there.
Wow. That would be part 2. Did he marry her?
The question is yes.
Okay. You're going to keep everybody hanging.
We did, and we actually went off to college separately, and we were engaged at that point, and we did get married after college, and we didn't have horses in our life for another probably 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And then we bought a farm, and still horses were not in our future at that point. We didn't even talk about it. And it was September, and it was my wife's birthday in September. And what am I going to get this woman for her birthday? And so we had been out to Arizona the year before, and we went to a guest ranch. It was a resort that had horses. It really wasn't a dude ranch or anything like that. And it was an all-inclusive thing, and we booked 3 rides a day or more. And so we rode and just fell in love with it again. And so I said, I'll buy her a horse. We got land now. And so I called my sister-in-law. She knew of a place. And I went and rode this horse in the barn aisle because it was raining cats and dogs that day. And when Krista got home, she goes, why are your cowboy boots out? I hadn't had them out in over a year. And I said, I don't know, I just wanted to wear them. She goes, no, why are they out? I said, I can't keep a secret. So I said, I bought you a horse.
Oh.
So for her 35th birthday, I bought her a horse.
Oh, I love it. My hero.
There you go.
I love it. Actually, my husband gave me a horse for our wedding. her as a gift.
Perfect.
I know.
Perfect.
It was just like, everybody should do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want that. So tell me a little bit about how you started your professional of being with horses, your profession of it.
Yeah, so my wife then Krista bought me a horse about 3 months later after I bought her one because she didn't want to ride alone. And we rode those two horses for about 7 years. And my horse ended up passing away. And I moped around for about 6 months, and Krista found me a horse whose name was Spuds. And I didn't like that name, so I called him Gandalf the Grey. The Lord of the Rings was on at that time. I don't really care for that, but that's what he looked like. And I thought after 7 years of riding horses that I knew what I needed to know to handle a 6-year-old that had 30 days of riding on.
Oh, wow.
I did not know anything, and he told me so. And so we were fighting a lot, Gandalf and I. And somebody had told Krista about RFD TV and that they had a 2-hour block of horse training every night almost, I think. And so we got done our farm chores. We had a full working farm at that point with goats, chickens, cattle,
Whoa.
And a garden. So we got done at dark, and we would watch this 2-hour block. And so I found we have pretty much everything that was on there. We bought the DVDs, we bought the books, we read, and we settled on Pirelli Natural Horsemanship. And I was against it totally. It was like, this is just, hooey. But Krista had just gotten a horse as well that was a little younger, because it's like, I got a younger horse now. She needs a younger horse so we can go out and do things. And she's making progress. So when nobody was looking, I went behind the barn and I started wiggling my ropes and doing things. And all of a sudden, things changed. Fast forward just a couple years, and we went to our first clinic. Again, the skeptic, I'm like, so now we've been doing it all on our own. Now we have a professional who's going to teach us. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of this. I will go because you want to go. They better not ask me any questions, and they better not ask my horse for a demo. Within 20 minutes of listening to a lady named Rachel Jessup, I was raising my hand to answer questions. She would go, I need a horse. I go, here's Gandalf, take him. And when I got in the car after the clinic, I said, that's what I want to do for a living.
Whoa. Now, people who don't, and actually, to be honest with you, we met you at a Pirelli clinic, and it was a little hokey pokey to me too. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to be doing a demo, not today, but we will be doing something.
Yeah,
like
cool.
That.
That's awesome.
But I was a little skeptical too, because it's a little bit of a little slower pace in life, right?
Yes.
And the question is that for communication with horses, you communicate? Is it through Pirelli or through your own little special? How do you communicate with horses?
Yeah, so basically what I do is I establish a relationship first, and it's based on a connection. That connection produces a bond, which is based on mutual trust and communication. The communication comes in reading the horse's body language and understanding what motivates a horse. And horses are motivated they have about 4 different things that they really value more than anything. First one is safety. So I create this bond and friendship to where they feel safe around me. Mm-hmm. And they start looking at me for answers to questions rather than trying to figure it out or trying to take matters in their own hands. The second thing is comfort. And comfort to a horse is the absence of pressure. So if I stare at a horse like I'm staring at you, that can be pressure to them. You take that pressure off, a lot of times they will lick and chew, they'll relax. So pressure then motivates. Not that we're going to run them around a round pen all day long, but release of that pressure teaches the horse. So, and it's a fine line between safety and comfort. So you can get a horse and put so much pressure on them that they don't feel safe.
Okay.
So the idea is to always kind of balance those two things. Once they start understanding the pressure release, the comfort part of it, now what you do is they want to play games. And to them, it's dominance games or leadership games. And it's not that they're going to challenge me or I'm going to challenge them, but I may ask them to solve a puzzle.
Like what?
Well, let's say that I have a tarp on the ground and I need them to go over that tarp. I will ask them to go toward the tarp, and then they get to make choice as to what they're going to do next. Some of them will go around it to the outside. Some will go around to the inside. Some of it, which is what I want, will go and start sniffing at it, maybe paw it a little bit. And then they'll look at me, and I'll go, yes, and I'll point, and they will walk across the tarp.
Okay.
So I want them to start to go, okay, we're playing this is my puzzle. What am I supposed to do now that I've sniffed it and pawed it and it's not going to eat me? And then the fourth thing is food. Some horses, you may have some, I know I do, are more food motivated than anything else. So,
But again, using food, and for our audience who are not horse people, but even dogs, if you have food, does it make them nippy? Like, oh, you got more, you got more? You know how that...
You have to be careful that you're not creating a treat monger.
Right.
And that you use it judiciously and at the appropriate times. Typically, when I give food, it is in the beginning of a session. Sort of like if I go over and have dinner at somebody's house, I might bring the dessert or I might bring some sort of wine or beverage. And then at the end of the session. And my treat at the end of the session could be we go out and eat some grass. You know, I sit on a chair and they graze around me. Or I might give them a little bit of grain at the end, depending on what time of day it is and when feeding time is, that sort of thing. There are treats in my pocket a lot, but they're not usually used during the training process.
I see, right.
For me anyway, some people do.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's so much, for Dan, what makes your program so unique? Why is yours a little bit more unique than, because there's a lot of horse people out there, right?
Yeah, there are, and there's a lot of programs and there's a lot of technique. I think what makes what I do so unique is the fact that we concentrate in the beginning a lot on the relationship, a lot on the connection, and then we're constantly building that connection. And as you said, when you met me, it is a slow process. So it doesn't happen in a day. It can. I've had horses connect with me in 5 minutes. I've had some that have taken 3 or 4 months. So that connection, that building of that, just makes every part of the rest of the training, whether it's trail riding or it's dressage or it's reining, go so much easier. Because the horse looks at me or looks at the person with is this right? Am I doing the right thing? And you can answer them rather than them going, okay, hey, I'm scared, we're out of here. And if you don't come along, you're on the ground, basically.
But again, that connection, is that what you teach people, to build that first?
Yes.
That's the uniqueness, to build that connection?
Yes. And it depends also what their issues are, you know, what they've called me for. If they want to learn the program, let's say from the beginning, the connection is huge and I won't go any farther. But even if I get calls for a lot of trailer loading issues. That's probably the number one thing. And in that trailer loading, if I don't have the connection and I'm just pushing them on the trailer, they might get on, but they might be really sweaty when they get somewhere, or they might be antsy in the trail or pawing and everything else. But if they have made that connection, then what
Yeah.
they'll do is to go, okay, what does he want me to do? And can I trust him?
Trust.
Yeah.
I think trailer loading. What else? What are some of the challenges that people call you about?
Yeah, as I mentioned trailer loading,
Okay.
catching a horse in a pasture or a stall. I've had a bunch of those. Saddling, where the horse, even in cross ties, just will not stand to have the saddle put on them. Some of it is saddle fit issues, but some of it is also trust. Bridling, girthing, picking feet. I've had one that the horse could not, he would not stand for the farrier at all. He had some feet issues, and so he would have to have a sedative. Well, if the vet came in to give him a sedative, he'd run to the other end of the stall and point his rear end at that person and cock his leg. So if you got close to him, he was kicking.
Wow.
So got it to the point where we could, the vet would stand behind me, and I would go through what I was going to do to help the horse get a shot. And the vet could just give him a shot, and he'd just stand there. And then with a very, very, very mild sedative toward the end, he was picking up his feet really nicely.
Wow. All horses are different, aren't they? Just all different temperaments, all these different ability, right?
Yes.
Do you have favorite breeds or favorite?
I do have a favorite breed.
I think I know what it is.
Which one is it?
I think it's quarter horse.
No.
What?
It goes back to when we started a conversation, and I said that we went up to the Arabian horse farm. An Arabian is my favorite breed.
Oh wow, that's my least favorite.
Yeah.
Because they're so temperamental.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you met me, you did not get to meet my Arabian.
You had a quarter horse.
I had a quarter horse,
Okay.
yeah, which is my main horse today. His name is Renegade.
The one that I met?
Yeah.
We're going to put a picture up in a little bit. If you give me that picture. We're
Yeah,
gonna put
sure.
that up. I love that horse.
Sure, and Renegade, I said I would never have a horse named Tornado, Twister, Buck, or Renegade. And I have one, and he is one.
That's so
But my favorite breed is an Arabian. I had an Arabian for 28 years.
Whoa.
Whoops, I'm sorry, 18 years. He was 28. I got him when he was 10. And he was an amazing horse.
Wow.
And-
What made him so amazing? Because maybe he was smart. I mean, they were smart.
So he was smart, he was very charismatic. He could do pretty much anything. You could run a barrel race pattern. In fact, he had ribbons all over the place before I got him. But he could do dressage patterns. And he was so in tune with me. I'll tell you two quick stories. One day, we were out riding in a place called Gunpowder Falls State Park, which is in Maryland.
I know where that's at.
I can't remember the county, but it's 12, 14 miles of trail, something like that. And we would always ride around the outside perimeter of the trail. And you come up to T's in the road or forks in the trail or something, and we came to a T. And I wanted to go left. We had already been out 2 or 3 hours, and if I went left, it was going to be another 3 hours. If I went right, it was about a half an hour, we were back at the trailer. So I said, I want to go left. He goes, no, I want to go right. I said, I want to go left. He goes, no, I want to go right. And this went on for a couple minutes. And I'm like, this horse never fights me. And so I said, we're going left. And when I tell the story, I go, he stomped his hoof. He really didn't, and said, okay, we'll go left, fine. And he walked beautifully. We get about a half mile down the trail, and there's a tree down.
Oh.
And it was one that when I stood in the trail, it was up to my chest.
You couldn't have.
I could not have jumped it. He was 15 hands, and he wasn't jumping that. He wasn't a jumper, that's for sure. And I would have had to be on my belly to go underneath it.
Oh, my God.
So with a saddle on, there's no way I might be good, but there's no way I'm getting a horse to go underneath that. So I said, fine, we'll look about going down around it. The bank was very steep. I go, that's not happening. It was very muddy, and we would have went into a river, basically. So I said, we'll go up. So I got off of him. I just held onto his tail lightly, and I asked him to go forward. And he actually slipped and came back and almost landed on me. I said, that's not going to work. So I made sure he was all right. I remounted with my head between, tail between my legs, and we went back to that tee in the road, and we went to the right. We had been there a lot of times, and I didn't even use a map anymore, and I knew the trail, but I didn't know that we were coming to another tee. So I said, I wonder, as we're coming up to the tee, which way he's going to go. So I put my reins over my saddle horn, I folded my arms, and I closed my eyes, and I just looked to the left. That horse went to the left.
Really?
He wasn't going back to the trailer. How did he know that tree was up there? I have no idea. But I have several stories where he wanted to take me in different places because of that.
But you got to be willing to listen to it, right?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Well, I think what happened, yeah, you're right. If you're open for it, sometimes we're not. We're on our mission. This is what we're doing,
Sure.
right? And you want to say, that's what we'll do. Let me ask you something. When you're with all these horses and are there any items that you particularly like to use for your training? Is there anything that you use?
Not really. Typically, I'll have a training stick. I use a rope halter and a lead rope.
I see you have a bag there.
Yeah. Now that's something different.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll get that hopefully.
Okay. So you use a stick, which is like the carrot stick by Pirelli.
Yeah.
Like that, and ropes.
And ropes, 12, 22, 45 feet.
Okay. Those are the things that you use.
Yeah.
And when you use those, you feel confident those really work really well, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So part of the training in the beginning is, to take the carrot stick without the horse and be able to use it and be more precise. If you've ever been kicked by a horse, which Gandalf the Grey taught me this, they are very precise. I was in a round pen before I knew anything, and I was running this horse around. Said, we're going to canter today. And I got a little too vigorous with him. He came around, he kicked me in that thumb.
Really?
I said, oh my goodness, and I went more. He came around, he kicked that thumb again. My round pens are only 35 inches high. And the third time around, Gandalf jumped that.
Really?
He said, I'm out of here.
Wow.
And he kicked the same thumb at the same place. I mean, so...
Wow.
So we teach the people to be very precise, not to hurt the horse, but just to be able to influence different parts of them so that they understand what we're asking if we need to use that.
Now, do you use any psychology for people with fear?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you do with that?
It's more, just like we do with the horse, it's an approach and retreat. And a lot of times it's fear of riding. Sometimes it's fear of the horse in general. They have horses, but they're afraid of them completely. So we try to use an approach and retreat where we ask them to go maybe as close to the horse as they can.
Is this on the ground or riding?
Both.
Both, okay.
So if on the ground, they would go as close to the horse as they can. And if, I'll say, when you get to that point where you're starting to feel a little bit worried about it, you stop and take a step back, and let's see how long you can stand there. Some people it's 5 seconds or less. Some people it's a couple minutes. On the riding part, and then we build on that until they can actually go and touch their horse.
Right.
For the riding part, we actually use the same type of approach and retreat where we might stand them on a mounting block or some sort of platform, and we'll parade the horse by them. And some are very frightened. They cannot handle that because they're now above the horse. And eventually they can lay across their horse.
Okay.
How long it takes, it's the same as the horse. It may take 5 minutes. It may take several months.
Yeah.
And then when they get worried, they can self-regulate and back themselves off.
Oh, wow. Well, everybody has different. We got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
I want to know what's in your bag. What's in your bag, Dan?
So, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff of the same thing. So, when I was riding a lot of horses for people, because I did that a little bit, especially during the COVID years, because I needed to keep income generating. So I said to these boarding facilities, I said, you know what, I can ride your horses for you because you can't have anybody in to ride them.
Right.
And they say, great. And what would happen is I use one saddle and I have a pad that I shim for everybody. And darn, I got to this one place and I needed a 32-inch girth or cinch. I had a 34 and a 28. And so I called my supplier and I said, hey, I need a 32. Can you drop ship that to me? And they go, no, we don't have any. We don't know when we're going to get any. I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So I started to make...
You are kidding.
I started to make Western cinches, and I've actually branched out and done English. I don't have any examples of that. That is one I just finished this morning.
You are kidding me. So when do you do this? If you're supposed to be riding and doing it, when do you do it?
When it's raining.
Oh my God, it has been raining.
Or at night or something like that. And then there's various sizes and colors.
Wow. That is amazing. So, are you on Amazon?
I am not.
Oh yeah, you need to be there.
It's on maybe it's on my website, and people can call me and I'll make the cinch for them.
We'll put some information on there if people want some of it, because that is awesome. Because not only that, it's unique, it's different, and you have all sizes.
Yes, I've done breast collars, and I want to branch out and do saddle blankets, and I do weave. I weave other things, but I haven't found the time to do that one yet.
Gosh.
They take a little bit more time than these do.
You're like a jack of all trades, that's for sure. I've never seen that before, because I couldn't sit long enough to do any of that. So that's the problem.
Well, the beauty of this is, and this took me probably 4 hours to do.
Wow.
But I could start it, get it so far, and then go out and do whatever I needed to do.
Yeah, and then you come back and redo it.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so impressive. You are amazing. I'm going to
Thank you.
tell you. Lastly, we're going to put up how people can get in touch with you. But if you had to say one thing that if people wanted to come use your services, what is something, real quick, what you could offer them?
I can offer them a little bit different methodology in horse training, where what we can do is to get them confident that the horse is going to bond and connect with them. If they take the time and they take and practice, that it will eventually happen. As somebody told me, in fact, the man that you met, Mr. John Barr, it may not happen today. Yeah. But if you stick with it, it will happen.
So that's why. Yeah. So we're going to put your information up, and
okay.
We'll make sure that they can get that. Or now, what do you call these? Cinches?
Cinches in the Western world, girths in the English world.
Girths in English. And you said you do have some English girths too, maybe?
Mm-hmm. I make English girths, I also make breast collars. And this is mohair.
Mohair. Mm-hmm. Love it. All right. Well, we are going to close for now. Dan, I want to thank you for coming on. You were amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Horsemanship, horse psychology, a legend. Dan is a legend. I want to thank all our viewers for being here on Fit to be Fabulous. If you'd like to be on the show or be a guest on the show, you can contact me at brendavanr@gmail.com. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.